You wake up, check your phone, scroll, react, forget. Repeat. This is not just a routine. It's a ritual of distraction. And slowly, without noticing, your mind becomes shallow. Not because you lack intelligence, but because you avoid depth. You fear it. Nietzsche saw this coming. A world that trades thought for opinion, silence for noise, solitude for dopamine. He called it decay, the decline of the soul masked by progress. Today, we think quickly but not deeply. We speak loudly but say nothing. We know facts but not meaning. We have access to infinite knowledge, yet we understand almost nothing. About ourselves. This is not accidental. It is convenient. Shallow minds are easier to control, easier to sedate. They don't question. They don't rebel. They don't transform. And you might ask, but why would I fear thinking? Because real thinking is dangerous. It demands confrontation with your past, your beliefs, your fears, your lies. Nietzsche once said, "He who fights with monsters must take care, lest he become a monster." The mind is a battlefield. Most avoid the fight. So I ask you, are you thinking? Or are you just repeating? Because in the age of noise, depth is rebellion. Thinking is not about solving puzzles. It's about reflecting, peeling layers, seeing yourself without filters. But most people don't want a mirror. They want a mask. True thought exposes. It reveals contradictions in your beliefs, weaknesses in your behavior, lies you've told yourself for years. And that truth is uncomfortable. So we hide. We consume content to avoid contentment. We absorb ideas, but never chew them. We memorize opinions, but never digest their cost. Nietzsche would call this intellectual laziness, the unwillingness to wrestle with one's own mind. We think just enough to appear smart, but never enough to risk transformation, because transformation is painful. Ask yourself, when was the last time a thought changed you? Not entertained, changed, made you lose sleep, made you doubt everything, made you start over. That is the kind of thinking Nietzsche lived for. Not soft thoughts, but violent, AWAKENINGS. Your mind is not a container. It's a battlefield, not for comfort, but for conquest. Thinking deeply often means thinking differently, and that makes you dangerous. Society doesn't reward thinkers. It rewards conformists. People who play nice, repeat the script, smile at lies, fit in, be useful, be agreeable. Don't ask too many questions. Nietzsche called this the herd morality, the mindset of those who seek safety and sameness. They don't want truth. They want approval. And so they flatten themselves, dumb themselves down, until their thoughts no longer disturb anyone, not even themselves. But you were not born to conform. You were born to become. The price of that becoming? Isolation, rejection, conflict. Nietzsche knew this. He walked alone, not because he hated people, but because he refused to betray his mind to please them. Thinking will cost you, but not thinking will cost you everything. If you want depth, you must be willing to stand alone, even against the world. Modern life is built for distraction. Algorithms know what you like before you do. Notifications hijack your attention. Every app is designed not to inform you, but to addict you. Thinking, real thinking, can't survive in this storm. Because it's slow, it's painful, it needs silence. Nietzsche warned us. A distracted man is not free. He is a puppet, controlled not by chains, but by choices he didn't choose. You think you're in control, but your thoughts have been outsourced. To the crowd, to the feed, to the noise. You can't think if you're constantly stimulated. You can't reflect if you never disconnect. You can't grow if every moment is designed to feel good instead of be good. Discipline is the gatekeeper of depth. The discipline to turn off the noise, to sit in boredom, to wrestle with a thought. Longer than a swipe. Pleasure is cheap. Depth is earned. Silence terrifies the modern man, because in silence there is no escape, no distraction, no applause. Just you and the questions you've avoided. What am I doing with my life? Do I even believe what I say I believe? Am I becoming who I want to be, or just surviving? Nietzsche embraced silence, not as absence, but as space. Space for the soul to speak. Space to hear the faint whispers of truth. Silence is not emptiness. It is the beginning of everything. If you cannot be alone with your thoughts, you are not thinking. You are hiding. You scroll because you fear stillness. You talk because you fear reflection. You laugh because you fear crying. But what if the silence isn't your enemy, but your teacher? The mind only awakens when the world shuts up. We live in a culture that celebrates quick answers, instant opinions, fast takes. But great minds are not defined by how fast they answer, but by how deep they question. Nietzsche didn't ask, "What do people believe?" He asked, "Why? Do they believe it?" He didn't say, "What's the meaning of life?" He said, "What meaning are you creating?" Shallow questions produce shallow lives. Deep questions, they tear you apart. They challenge your foundations. They force you to rebuild from zero. But that's the point. That's the gift. If you ask shallow questions, how can I be liked? You live a hollow life. But if you ask deeper ones, what truth would I die for? You build a real one. Your mind is a question. Your life is the answer. Modern education doesn't teach you how to think. It teaches you what to think. You're rewarded for memorization, penalized for rebellion. You learn to obey, not to inquire. Nietzsche despised this. He believed schools were factories, not for greatness, but for obedience. They mold minds into shapes that fit, never shapes that disrupt, but real thinking disrupts. It doesn't just absorb, it challenges. It tears apart assumptions. It says, no. It says, why? The philosophers, the rebels, the visionaries. They weren't straight-A students. They were often dropouts, misfits, loners, because they refused to let their thoughts be caged. If you want to think deeply, you must unlearn what they taught you. You must rediscover the fire of questioning. Thinking is not a subject. It is a rebellion. Thinking is not peaceful. It is war. A war against illusion, against comfort, against the parts of yourself that refuse to change. Nietzsche knew a real thought is a weapon. It cuts, it burns, it breaks what is false. That's why most people don't think, they daydream, they theorize, but they don't challenge. Because to challenge an idea is to risk your entire identity. What if the religion you follow is hollow? What if your career is a lie? What if your values aren't even yours? Most minds can't handle that violence, so they retreat. They protect their bubble. They surround themselves with people who agree and call that peace. But it's not peace. It's paralysis. Thought should hurt. It should disrupt your sleep. It should tear your ego apart until only truth remains. If your thinking is always comfortable, it's not thinking. It's self-soothing. Depth isn't soft. Depth is a blade. We live in echo chambers. We follow those who think like us. Read what comforts us. Block what offends us. This is not thinking. It's repetition. It's safety. It's decay. Nietzsche hated the herd, not out of arrogance, but out of love for the individual, because the herd does not think. It copies. It flatters itself with group morality and mass opinion, but it fears the individual mind. The herd asks, who agrees with me? The thinker asks, what is true, even if no one agrees? If you want to think deeply, you must step outside the crowd. You must risk misunderstanding. You must risk being hated. Because truth is not democratic. It is discovered, not voted. Every step toward truth is a step away from the herd. And that means you will walk alone. But only alone can you hear your real voice. We've been taught to believe that truth is beautiful, liberating, kind. But Nietzsche saw something else. Truth is brutal. Truth humiliates. Truth humbles. Truth destroys everything you built on lies. You want to think deeply? Prepare to bleed. To confront the truth is to destroy parts of yourself, willingly. It means saying, I was wrong. It means realizing your life may have been built on a false premise. It means starting over, again and again. That's why most avoid truth. They prefer sugar, affirmation, echoes. But Nietzsche writes, the higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. If you want to rise, you must risk falling. If you want truth, you must sacrifice comfort. The truth will not hug you. It will test you, break you. Then, if you survive, rebuild you. You've been programmed, from childhood, by media, by school, by your culture. Your thoughts may not even be yours. Deep thinking begins with unlearning. Nietzsche called for a revaluation of all values. Tear down the inherited, question the sacred, burn the script. Only then can you think as yourself, not as a copy of your environment. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Who benefits from me thinking this way? Do I believe this? Or was I taught to? Thinking is not about adding more ideas. It's about subtracting lies, clearing space, creating room for something real. Unlearning is violent. It leaves you empty before it makes you full. But that emptiness, that's freedom. Until you unlearn, you cannot learn. For Nietzsche, thought was not just reflection. It was action, becoming. Every idea you truly absorb should reshape your life. Change your habits. Earn your comfort zones. Most people think as spectators. But thinking is not watching. It's sculpting. The mind is a chisel. And with each question, you carve. You refine. You cut the false away. You become. This is why Nietzsche spoke not just of man, but of the Bermensch, the one who transcends, evolves, overcomes. You don't think to pass time. You think to pass thresholds, from weakness to strength, from herd to individual, from shadow to light. If your thoughts don't change your life, they're not thoughts. They're noise. Your mind is sacred, but you've allowed it to become a hallway where anyone can walk in, shouting, selling, distracting. Nietzsche believed the mind was a temple, a place of solitude, discipline, focus, and you must protect it. Guard your inputs. Choose what you read. Choose who you listen to. Be ruthless, because every voice you let in shapes you or infects you. You don't owe your attention to anyone, not every news cycle, not every opinion, not every trend. Thinking requires a clear space, a clean slate, a fortress. You are not just responsible for what you believe. You are responsible for what you allow. Silence the world, light the flame, and protect the fire. Your mind is not your enemy. It is your weapon. But a weapon must be sharpened, trained, directed. Most leave theirs to rust. Let it be used by others. Let it go dull with comfort, comparison, and fear. Nietzsche's message is simple, but severe. Think deeply, or be ruled by those who do. Because in this world, the war is not fought with guns. It's fought with ideas. And those who refuse to think will be slaves to those who do. You have a choice: repeat or rebel, sleep or awaken, scroll or confront. The death of depth is not the end of thought. It is the end of freedom. So rise. Wrestle. Dig. Think like your life depends on it. Because it does.